जय हिंद एवरीवन, आई विवेक पांडे वेलकम बैक इन टारगेट डिफेंस फोर्सेस। इस वीडियो में पिंकी ने एक प्रेजेंटेशन दी है, बहुत इन्फॉर्मेटिव प्रेजेंटेशन है, बहुत नॉलेजेबल प्रेजेंटेशन है ओवर द टॉपिक इंडो चाइना रिलेशनशिप्स। एंड दिस प्रेजेंटेशन इज़ गोइंग टू बी वेरी स्पेशल एंड इम्पॉर्टेंट एज फार एज योर एसएसबी इज़ कंसर्न, क्योंकि एसएसबी में इंटरव्यू में तक आपसे कई बार क्वेश्चन पूछा जाता है इंडो चाइना रिलेशनशिप के बारे में। इसमें कुछ की पॉइंट्स भी हमने कवर किए हैं, लाइक स्ट्रिंग ऑफ पर्ल्स एज वेल एज साउथ चाइना सी। तो इस वीडियो को एंड तक ज़रूर देखें बिकॉज इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट वीडियो फॉर यू ऑल। अगर आप भी एक प्लेटफॉर्म की तलाश में हैं जहाँ पे आप प्रैक्टिस कर सकते हैं, अपना स्पोकन पार्ट को इम्प्रूव कर सकते हैं, अपने कॉन्फिडेंस को बढ़ा सकते हैं, डेली प्रैक्टिस कर सकते हैं रिगार्डिंग लेक्चरेट, न्यूज़, प्रेजेंटेशन, ग्रुप डिस्कशंस एंड मल्टीपल मॉक इंटरव्यूज, देन माय डियर फ्रेंड्स, लेट मी टेल यू वन थिंग, यू आर एट द राइट प्लेस। Just provide your details in the given WhatsApp number, rest we will take care of. Must watch the video till the end. So today's presentation is being presented by Pinky Kumari, and she is preparing for her AFSB, and the topic of the presentation is Indo-China relations. And this session is going to be very important because this question or the questions in interview as well as in your group discussions and lecturate comes from this topic. So this is highly expected topic. So focus well till the end of the slide. Yes, Pinky, you can start.
Jai Hind everyone. Today my presentation topic is Indo-China relation. As we know that both the countries gained independence in the 1940s, and after that in the 1950s, both the countries signed the Panchsheel Agreement in 1954, which emphasized on the peaceful coexistence and non-interference in each other's internal matter. And now talking about the border disputes, there has been, as after the 1950s, the things were normalizing and keeping better. But in 1962, there is a military conflict happened, that is Sino-Indian War, which worsened the both bilateral relation between India and China. And talking about other border disputes, these are the in the McMahon disputed border, that is in the eastern sector, which China claims the Arunachal Pradesh region. And after that, coming to the Aksai Chin region in the western sector, which has China occupied illegally. And the most recent two border conflicts were the Doklam standoff in 2017 in the Sikkim region, and the recent one is the Galwan Valley clash, which was the most dreadful in 2020, where some casualties happened. So next slide. These are the map where the disputed border areas are shown. That is the western sector in the Jammu Kashmir region, and the Himachal Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh district state, and the eastern sector is in the Arunachal Pradesh. And there is a middle sector in the Sikkim region where the Doklam standoff happened. And these are the disputed part. So next slide. Now, talking about the areas of cooperation, both the countries were collaborating on different platforms. The first one is the political cooperation. After establishing the diplomatic relation, India became the first non-socialist bloc country to establish diplomatic relation with the People's Republic of China. And after that, many high-level visits were made by the prime ministers and president of the both countries, like Rajiv Gandhi visited in 1988, followed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in 2015, 16, and 18. And also, the Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit in the India in 2014 and 2016 made a significant remark in the political collaboration and strategic partnership. Talking about the economic cooperation, the bilateral trade between both the countries has reached about 135.98 billion in the year 2022, which is about 8.4% from the previous year. And in between the 2008 and 2021, China became the largest trading partner of India, despite of the border issues and other issues between both the countries. So next slide. Now talking about multilateral cooperation, both the countries were the part of various international organizations at global level, that is BRICS, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the India-China Trilateral, that is RIC, and another one is the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, and the fifth one is the World Trade Organization. And other is the basic, that is comprises of Brazil, South Africa, India, China, which they discuss on the environmental issues at the Copenhagen summit in 2009, that to hold the principle of climate justice of developing countries against the footprints that is created by the developed countries in the previous decades. And talking about the cultural and people to people exchanges, both the countries have very long history of cultural exchanges. As we know that the Buddhism that is born in India has propagated to the China also. And another various people to people exchanges has been made in the field of art, media, sports, tourism, traditional medicines, and think tanks. And now talking about the Indian Air Force aspect to counter China's. As recently we have seen that Indian Air Force has airlifted about 68,000 troops and 330 infantry combat vehicles and 90 tanks and other air defense weapon system to the forward areas of eastern Ladakh in response to the increased tension with China after the Galwan standoff. So the Indian Air Force has been deploying another like unmanned armed vehicles and fighter jets like Jaguar MiG-29, Sukhoi Su-30 MKI, and Rafale and other fighter jets so that they can cut down the reaction time during the tensions. And also, if any situation arises in case of war with China, it will be tough for India, but possible. As if we compare how the effectiveness of Indian Air Force with Chinese Air Force is that the Indian Air Force is completely depend on the training tool and terrain. As for the training part, the Indian pilots clocks around 300 hours of flying in a year, while the Chinese pilot will train with around 100 hours. And this shows a huge difference in the training part between both the countries. And also, as we have the lesser number of aircrafts compared to China, but if we compare the border areas, that is also lesser than the China. And the most of the border areas connected to China has been in the Tibetan Plateau, which is the highest plateau and the most rough terrain in the world. So if we talk about the air bases that China has in the Tibet area to counter India, is that there are four air bases mainly, whereas India has consist of 20 to 30 bases in the border area only. So if there any case of tension arises between both the countries, if India destroy these four air bases, then China would be in tough position to gather the help from the mainland because it was a little bit far away to get the timely help. And also China have border disputes with countries like South China Sea regions, and so China has to face the opposition from on those countries also, like Taiwan, Philippines, Vietnam, etc. And talking about the countries like USA, Japan, Israel, France, these countries supports India in countering the China's dominance in the South Pacific region. And now coming to the South China Sea. South China Sea is the one of the most important part that is strategically important and economically very geopolitical strategic point in the south between the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. And in this, the reason is very important because there has been seen as there has been about $5 trillion of the ship-borne trade passes through this sea annually, and also there has been very large reserve of unexplored oil and gas. So the main reason of the dispute is that China claims the maritime and the border and the island illegally, as all the other countries surrounding them claims all this. So next slide. So, as I talked, the significance of this region, there is economic and geostrategic importance, which connects the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, and about one third of the world's maritime shipping pass through it. So, and the third reason is the huge oil and gas reserves. And the main islands that are disputed here is the Parsley Island, Paracel Island, and the Scarborough Shoal. So these islands are claimed by various countries like the Philippines, Vietnam, Taiwan, Malaysia, Brunei, and China collectively. And another one is the Nine Dash Line. And according to this theory, the China claims 90% of the energy in the South China maritime, through which the $5 trillion of trades passes annually. And this region is also claimed by Brunei, Malaysia, Taiwan, Philippines, and Vietnam. And one of the major concerns regarding this is that the construction of the artificial islands and military deployments by China. As recently there has been in news that China is developing a military base in the Parsley Island. So it raises concern and intention of the China in that region. Now coming to the string of pearl. String of pearl is also a network and political strategy made by China to uh, counter India in the and to encircle India in the Indian Ocean region. Through this, various strategic naval bases and military bases China has been developing across the Indian Ocean region by collaborating with the countries by uh, making and falling them into the debt trap. So next slide. So the string of pearl is came first in light in the 2004 when the United States-based political researcher exposed the hypothesis to the world. And as per the string of pearl strategy, which ensures building a military and commercial facilities and in relationship helping the other countries to development. And China's this dual policy has been around the Strait of Malacca, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, in which they built the Haban port in Maldives, and in Pakistan, the Gwadar port that is built recently, and Bangladesh in the Chittagong port. And in Djibouti, there is a military base of China, which enhance its military and the influence in the region. Also, the main reason why India argues that it is trying to surround it with a network of dual-use port that facilitates the Indian Ocean region. And the main reason behind this that the concerned India is the defense and security reason. As India is a country in the South Asia, so it is very important to secure its boundary and the maritime uh, line. So, and coming to the energy security, it is seen that the reason the Gulf of Persian Gulf, that is a great big oil exporter, and India and China are the big energy importers of the crude oil. So it is very important if as the main choke point that lies between the Balab Mandeb and Strait of Hormuz, Strait of Malacca. So it is very important if China influences those areas, it will become a concern for the other countries regarding the energy security. And now the other one is the Belt Road Initiative project. This has been announced by the Chinese president in 2013. And under this initiative, it focuses on the improving connectivity cooperation between the Asian countries, Africa, China, and the Europe. And for China, it aims to boost the domestic growth and to augment its stature at the global level. But at the recent study, it is found that about 42 countries out of 100 countries which collaborated in the Belt Road Initiative has more than 10% of their GDP owned as debt to China. As this is initiative lacks transparency in its objective also. And apart from this, 35% of China's BRI infrastructure project portfolio that encountered major implementation problem, corruption scandals, labor violations, environmental hazards, and public protest. And the reason for opposition of India is that the CPEC, that is China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, which is a part of OBOR, passes through the Indian territory of Gilgit and Balochistan region that is undermining the Indian sovereignty. And in response to this, the global leaders came together in the form of initiated the B3W initiative. That is the G7 countries proposed a Build Back Better World initiative at the 47th G7 summit to counter BRI in the 2021. And this seeks to address the about $40 trillion worth of infrastructure to help the developing countries by 2035. And the another response in this is that the Blue Dot Network that is formed by the USA, Australia, and Japan in 2019 to bring together the government, the private sector, and the civil society to promote high quality and trusted uh, state for the global infrastructure development. Next slide. And the last one is the India's necklace of diamond. That is a counter strategy to the string of pearls of China's. So in this, India has been collaborating with many countries in the Indian Ocean region and across the other reason to garland the China in the form of necklace, in which the diamonds were like this places were set to counter the China's influence in the region. As we see that the first one is the Sabang port in the Indonesia, which is developed, which has been collaborated with Indonesia and India to counter the and at the Strait of Malacca region to counter the China's in growing influence. And the second is the Changi Naval Base in the Singapore, which is also India made an agreement with the Singapore government to use the naval base for military purposes. And the third one is the Assumption Islands in the Seychelles. And the fourth one is the Duqm port in the Oman. It is one of the major port in the Oman, which has been collaborated with India because there has been both a naval base and air base in that area, which is a very important and strategic point for India, as we have seen that the Gwadar port and other the Djibouti military base where the China has developed. So to tackle those, it is very strategic point for that. And the other one is the Chabahar port of the Iran, which has been developed near the Gwadar port of the Pakistan to counter that, so that the Persian Gulf region will be uh, not get so much tensed. So next slide. So India has been expanding all this and collaborating with other countries to improve the relation with strategically to neighboring countries to counter the China. Thank you. That's all.